So, many people believe that colorism isn't an important issue. They believe that even though a lighter skinned person is preferred over a role over a darker skinned person, we should just be happy a black person is considered for the role in the first place. Well, to argue, colorism is a horrible issue, and in my opinion, it's even worse than racism, in that it has detrimental effects on our youth. To begin, what is colorism? Well, colorism is when a person or a group of people are discriminated against based off the shade of their skin. It is usually prominent in the African American community, Latino or Hispanic community, Indian Middle Eastern community, and the Asian community. America has a long history of colorism, and especially in motion pictures. Back then, usually in the 30s or 40s, white actors and actresses were used to portray people of color in film. An example would be Lost Boundaries by Louis de Rochemont, and it was a story about the Johnsons family and how they used their white passing appearances to avoid racism and social setbacks. Instead of using black people to portray the Johnson family, they used an all-white cast. And when movies advertised an all-colored cast, they would use white-passing African Americans or have light-skinned blacks wear skin lightening makeup so they would appear white in film. This resulted in children or young adults feel like their dark skin isn't beautiful, and because all they see in film and in movies are lighter-skinned African Americans. According to a scholarly article called What is Colorism by Teal L. Tasker, skin bleaching can cause a darker-skinned person to feel insecure about their skin, and even their beauty as a whole. This is one of the reasons as to why lighter-skinned people have higher self-esteem, which eventually lead them to be more successful and even have more achievements. And when darker-skinned actors and actresses were in movies, they were mainly casted as racial stereotypes. Lincoln Perry's character, Stephen Fetchit, is a prime example. Lincoln Perry will portray Stephen Fetchit as an idiot. He would go around dancing and stumbling and falling and just act unintelligent, which is not how he really was in real life. And darker-skinned women typically play 3 different types of roles in film: mammies, Jezebels, and sapphires. Mammies were characters that were usually the maid or the caretaker of the family, and they would take care of the children. They were stereotypically fat, unattractive, and motherly. And these characters were mostly prominent in around the 30s and 40s. Jezebel were characters that were overtly sexualized, and they were quote-unquote sex crazed. These characters were used to justify white men having sex with black women and even raping them in movies. This character can also be seen in today's rap videos where black women are usually being sexualized by wearing little to no clothing. The next character that darker-skinned actresses would portray is Sapphire, or the quote-unquote the angry black woman character. These women are usually loud, rude, and undesirable. Tasha Smith's characters are a good example. Blacks then begin to write and direct their own movies after growing tired of seeing them being portrayed as either savages, unintelligent, and offensive stereotypes. Even though the movies were being directed and written by African Americans, fair-skinned blacks were still mainly casted as leading roles. Oscar Michael was a famous director, and he was ridiculed for casting lighter-skinned individuals over darker-skinned actresses and actors. Many people in the Hispanic and Latino community witnessed similar forms of colorism throughout the history of film. Darker-skinned Latina people would typically see themselves portrayed as thugs, criminals, and villains. An example would be El Diablo. Quoting a scholarly article titled Media Stereotypes and Coconut Colorism, a Latino degeneration vis-a-vis dark skin. by Ronald E. Hall. Casting Gossett as a strong black cowboy character, an unusual portrayal in itself, assisting a light-skinned Euro-American to make the transition from tenderfoot to macho man, may have helped reaffirm for some Western fans that not all men who were tamed in the Wild West were light-skinned, but the Latino community characterization employed were right out of Hollywood. This quote basically is saying that even though a black cowboy was casted in the movie, and it helped prove to people that not the good guys are all light-skinned and white, the Latino in movies were all the same characters. Robert Beltran played El Diablo in the movie. While many Hispanic Americans enjoyed seeing a dark-skinned Hispanic on the big screen, they didn't appreciate the character he was portraying. El Diablo was the villain in the movie. He was a child rapist, a murderer, and a thief. Colorism in the film industry is still in effect today. Zoe Saldana, who is mixed race and lighter skinned, was casted to portray Nina Simone, a dark-skinned singer and a civil rights activist in the movie. She had to wear dark makeup and a prosthetic nose. My thing is, the casters, the people who casted the actors and actresses of this movie, why couldn't they have just casted a darker-skinned African American that looked at least similar to Nina Simone, instead of having Zoe Saldana wear dark makeup and prosthetic nose? The next movie is The Hate U Give, and it received a lot of backlash because they casted Amanda Steinberg, again a mixed-race individual, as the lead character. The main character was described in the novel as, and I quote, medium brown shade. Amanda Steinberg is lighter skinned. So again, why couldn't have they casted a medium brown skin actress? And colorism is even in animation. Princess Tiana's complexion in the Wreck-It Ralph 2 movie was lightened in comparison to her original appearance in Princess and the Frog. And colorism affects people of all races as well, not just African American and Latino. In Courage Asians, the movie, even though it received a lot of appraisal for the mostly Asian cast, which is very rare by the way, it also received a lot of hate. The Asians that were casted were all fair-skinned, and there weren't any darker-skinned Asians in the movie. Indians and Middle Easterners that are casted in major roles tend to be lighter skinned as well. So, by a younger, darker child constantly seeing people of their race in films being portrayed by typically lighter skinned people, this can cause serious self-esteem issues as they get older. A quote from a scholarly journal, Black Lives Matter Lifespan Perspective, says, given the predominance of the media images and racist dogma that continually portray the skin of hair of black people as ugly and unattractive, it is no wonder that many black women suffer from low self-esteem. Because the natural hair and darker complexions of black women are considered unattractive, the resultant psychology and social attitudes are that black women are unattractive. Conversely, since light skin and straight hair are considered attractive attributes, the resultant psychology and social attitude is that being white is attractive and desirable. Throughout history, colorism has been very prominent in motion pictures. While we have come a long way, there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. I'm not saying that lighter skinned people shouldn't be casted as different characters in movies. I'm saying that we should have a variety of different shades and races in movies, so everybody can all see representation of themselves as people on TV, and to help us shoot for our goals for those who want to be actors and actresses. So thank you for watching my video.